So today's theme is transforming amid the slowing market. But I would like to start from a positive spin. Yes, China's growth is slowing down, but still China remains one of the fast-growing economies in the countries. In fact, even the GDP growth slows to 5.5%. The China private consumption still will come to 6.5 trillion by 2020, which means a 2.6 trillion incremental growth from 2015 to 2020. How big is that private consumption? That incremental growth alone is equal to the size of the German market by 2020. So as you can see, it's still a tremendous growth opportunity in China. It's not the time to retreat from the market. Instead, it's the time to re-engage with this market and find the new growth opportunities. So where the growth will come from? We actually see a two-speed economic growth in the next 5 years. The growth will come differently from income, from generations, and from channels. Next. Okay. Income. I think a lot of us here actually benefit from the growth of the middle-class consumers in China. Yes, the middle class will still grow, mainly from the low-tier cities. But unfortunately, in the next 5 years, it will not be the dominant driving forces of the growth anymore. The growth shift to the upper middle and affluent classes, which means the monthly disposable income more than 12,000 RMB a month. And this group of people will have a 17% annual growth in the next 5 years, and we will drive the 81% of the total private consumption growth. And this group of people have quite different needs, and they are more sophisticated. So we need to offer different product and different strategy for them. Second one, generation. So I'm a 70s, and I suppose many of the people here may also be a post-70s. But unfortunately, we are no longer at the center of the stage for the consumption in the future. The major driving forces for the consumptions in terms of generation will be the post-80s, post-90s, and even the X generations. As you can see, the age group between 18 to 35, they will have a 14% annual growth in the next 5 years. This group of people, they know much more brands, even than their Western peers, and they are much more sophisticated, and they just like to shop for fun. So it's very important that we can engage with this group of young people. The last one, e-commerce. So the e-commerce experienced spectacular growth in China, even more so than it is in a lot of the Western countries. And we will expect a 20% annual growth for e-commerce in the next 5 years, while the offline channels, the growth will be much smaller. Next page. These three forces, along the other two ones, will drive the incremental 2.6 trillion private consumption. So what are the other two? The first is the service. So China is not a country known for the willingness to pay for service. However, with the rise of the upper middle class and affluent, consumers are more willing to spend on the service itself versus the products. So we call it a transformation from owning to being. And 51% of the future growth will come from service. The other one is geographic. So the adoption game is not over in lower-tier cities yet. We will still see a lot of the middle and even upper middle classes coming up in the lower-tier cities. I think a lot of the companies here already cover the lower-tier cities, but the penetrations can be still deeper, and the coverage can be still broader. And we still expect half of the growth will come from the lower-tier cities. What does it mean for food and beverage companies? First, innovations. I think the Chinese consumer before is probably the one that's easier to satisfy. It's still adoption game. As long as you give them products, they are happy. But it's no longer the case in the futures, especially for the upper middle and affluent classes. They have much more demanding requests, and it requires a product with no compromise between health and well-being, taste and convenience. Second one, the service consumptions. This requires us to think differently about occasions where your consumers purchase and consume the products. It may not be at home, it may not be at the retail channels. It will happen in different places in which we call HoReCa channel, hotel, restaurant, and entertaining. So that requires a quite differentiated strategy and go-to-market approach to capture this growth. The second, e-commerce. Certainly, we need to expand e-commerce opportunities. But more importantly, when the online penetrations reach a certain percentage, it actually requires a fundamental changes to your business model as well as your organization structures. The last one, embrace digitals. So it gives us a very different methodologies to engage our millennial consumers, to listen to them, to analyze them, and engage with them in a much better way. Product innovations. So this chart shows the consumption index for different categories across different income brackets. As you can see, when the consumers pass the hurdle of the middle class, they actually spend quite differently on different categories. Particularly for upper middle class and affluent, you can see a very steep takeoff for the health lifestyles and premium offerings. At the first glance, it may look quite a bit upset for the FMCG companies here, because most of us falls into the FMCG, which is essential categories. But on the other side, when we look what consumers are willing to spend on, which is health lifestyle, premium offering that they can feel indulgent, actually you can have a spin with your product and offering and still satisfy the needs of these consumers. As we see in China, as well as in a lot of the Western countries, there is evolving expectations from consumers that they expect the product with a non-compromise between health and well-being, between taste and convenience. So they want a product can be naturally ingredients, which is composed of natural ingredients, which has functions that can help you improve your health, but at the same time have great texture, great flavor, delicious, but also convenient. And sometimes they also hope that it can come with equipment so they can easily serve and use them. And one thing not on this page, but it's also very important, is the emotion elements and attributes of the products. That it can bring fun, it can bring emotional connections with your consumers. So this really poses a significant challenge to product innovations, but also ample opportunities. One example, as we see in US, which did this very successfully, is the Amplify Snack company. So they launched this category, which they call Better For You. And one of the products is this Skinny Pop, which is a pop, which is usually we think it's not healthy for the consumers. But it's changed ingredients, it's changed the process to make it healthy, while at the same time very delicious. And this product alone achieved a significant growth just in 1 year and helped the company improve market share by 6%. Next page. Thank you. Now let's move to service. So as we just discussed about, the service itself will have a much faster growth rate versus compared to the products. Next. What service means? Service means a very different occasions. And it means that you really need to understand your consumers' functional and emotional needs in different occasions. Is it in a hand-end business banquet that they want to show off themselves? Or is it in a relaxing wine lounge that just unwind and just hang out with friends? And in different occasions, they will have very different needs for the products. So this requires the companies to rethink about the occasion their consumers use and purchase the products, and how to build a differentiated value propositions for a target occasions. It also requires a company to provide not only product, but integrated services with these HoReCa channels, so they can better serve not only the end customers, but also the business partners in the middle. Third one, e-commerce. E-commerce grows extremely fast in China, and I think sometimes it actually brings a lot of challenge for us. It diverts our traffic, it takes away our impulse purchase, and in some cases, it even eats up our margins. But the good news is, actually, it's not a win-zero game. It stimulates new demand online for the consumers. Our survey shows for the food and beverage, especially for the upper middle and affluent consumers, the consumption per capita actually much higher in online versus offline, which means the e-commerce channel itself stimulates new and additional demand among the consumers. So it's all about how to capture these opportunities. At the same time, we see if online penetration of certain categories past 10%, actually requires quite different changes in your business model and in your organization. I trust a lot of companies here, when we first approach e-commerce, we use an independent e-commerce team, and then we use a couple of external agencies. But that may not be the solutions in the futures. When the category penetration passes 10%, it requires an integrated strategy and mechanism to approach these opportunities. So it needs to be integrated assortment, pricing, supply chain, KPIs to manage your teams. It also requires you to build new capabilities inside out organizations. These capabilities cannot reside with the e-commerce team alone. It should be also in your supply chain, your product innovation, as well as in your marketing. Also, e-commerce gave us a new channel, a new opportunity to change our business model and do something different. Example here is like Nespresso's. They already bypassed the retailers and find a way to directly communicate and sell to their customers. So rethink about the products you have, whether you have a different business model to bring this offering to your customers. Next. Last but not least, one, digital engagement. So the digital way actually gave us a totally new platform to do the marketing and the customer relationship. Before, it's a one-way propaganda in 1980s. And then when the internet comes, it becomes a two-way conversation. Today, it's a multiple touch points conversations and the user-generated content. Or in other words, it can be out of control. It's no longer the company to control how to project your brand to the consumers. And a lot of part of it is the consumer itself is shaping it. So how to use these multiple touch points to listen to your customers, to react to your customers, and build your brand, it requires a quite different influencing skills. Today's consumers shop very differently. They switch between online and offline all the times, and they are on 24/7. They may compare the price in the shops online. They make critiques very quickly, and they share their reviews with their friends online and offline very frequently. It's very important for the company to rethink how to touch the multiple touch points and make sure you are always there when the consumers are online, but at the same time, understand effects and impacts of different touch points, so you know what you should do along the different touch points. We already see many of the consumer products right on these opportunities. For example, L'Oreal launched their new products with YouTube celebrity and followers, which is totally new ways to create products and promote its brand. And P&G, as we know, they use an online platform to test their new products and collect feedback from consumers on very on-time manners. And Pepsi, they do promotions partnering with Foursquares, and so can do a very precise location-based promotions. All these campaigns tell us that even though it gives us a lot of challenges in these multiple touch points, digital areas, it also gives us more opportunities to understand and analyze consumers' behaviors, and then customize the product offering for them and provide additional benefits. Okay, so this is a quick introduction of our overview of the China market and what it means for the food and beverage companies here. Again, as a closure, I would like to say it's not a time to retreat from the market. It's a time to re-engage with the market. It's all about how you capture the new growth opportunities. Thank you.